Today on the Furman Station, saving money by not buying gear is sometimes the best brewing advice. Welcome to the Furman Station. This is the podcast for the City Steading Brews brewing channel. I'm Brian.
I'm Derica.
And, well, we got some advice for you. We wrote down a bunch of things. I mean, we started thinking about there's all these things like, oh, you should buy this and you should buy that. But what about the things that we didn't need?
Yeah, the stuff that we bought that you might have regretted later.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit. We just tried to come up with the most meaningful ones, the ones that made the most sense, that common things that people might have bought.
Now, the caveat that I want to stress here before we start into it is this is based on our personal experience.
Oh, yeah.
So you may have a different experience, and that doesn't mean you should or should not purchase these items.
Right.
Some people really like to get into the gadgets and really like to micromanage things and have a multitude of different ways of testing the same thing. We, in general, try to keep things kind of simple and not overcomplicate. And so we try to find what is the best tool for us and the way we do things rather than having a whole bunch of them.
But also, we're creatures of habit. And what'll happen is you do the same thing the same way all the time. And then you get a different piece of gear. And sometimes it clicks and you just start using that right away. Other times, well, I gravitated right back to the old way. And if that happens, that tells me that's a regrettable purchase. We didn't need it.
Right. So first up on the list, our first victim, if you will.
Yep. This one's going to be controversial too. I can feel the hate coming through the camera lens already.
Please.
Go ahead. You get to say it.
Refractometer.
Yeah, we got one. And I thought it was the greatest thing because, you just use a couple of drops. But in reality, I never use it. I just never use it.
Yeah. The limited waste of product, particularly if you're not a person that likes to sanitize all the time, is a bonus for sure.
But you still need to sanitize whatever you're pulling the sample with. So you still have to sanitize.
You do.
But it is a small sample size. I will say that.
Yeah. As far as accuracy goes, we tested it versus the hydrometer, and it seemed to be fine. It's just
there's more to it.
It hasn't really worked into our workflow, which I think is the primary reason.
The main reason is because you can't just, like with a hydrometer, you pull it out, you put it in the liquid, you can read it, and you know what the reading is. With a refractometer, that's fine for the initial reading. Like when you're first making something, that works just fine, exactly the way the refractometer says. But once there's alcohol present, like even the next day, now the way light refracts through that is different. And I've been told by a couple of people that even colored liquids can throw off a refractometer. That's a new one. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
Colors, different color spectrums can change things. Also, cloudiness can change it because it is using light. And so if you have too much particles still in solution, it's going to change the reading and be a faulty reading.
Now, the reading that you get once there's alcohol present is just totally like bonkers. It's off the wall. But there are calculators on like Brewer's Friend is the one that I used to use all the time, where you can actually adjust for it. You tell it what the original gravity was, and there's a couple things that you have to do, and give it the reading, and it will make the adjustment for you. And that's what we were talking about, that it's pretty accurate. We actually tested it. Now, does that mean it's better or worse than a hydrometer? It doesn't. It's just different. And for me, because I was used to hydrometer, a refractometer added an extra step that I didn't feel I wanted to take. So for us, and for me, I'm usually the one taking the readings, using an eyedropper to grab 3 drops versus using a baster to fill a tube, I didn't really see all that much difference. Now, for people who don't sanitize all of their gear all the time, or people who are taking readings like every day, which I don't recommend doing, first off, please don't take readings every day. There's just no reason. If you want to do that, get a tilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. That goes on the list of things that I should have bought a long time ago that I didn't. But
that's a
whole other podcast, whole other story. But yeah, if you're one of those people that wants to take a reading every day or very often, or you don't want to sanitize your equipment for whatever reason, then the refractometer might be a slightly better option. But to me, it didn't fit. And they're cheap. They're only like $20. I mean, it wasn't expensive.
It wasn't
doesn't fit.
an expense issue. It was just that there were all these if-then clauses that didn't come into play when we're using the hydrometer. So I'd rather just have one tool that's going to do it regardless of what my situation is than a slightly finicky tool that will do something sometimes.
Right. Yeah, there's that. And speaking of doing some things sometimes, that brings us to the next thing on the list, which was the pH meter.
Yep.
Now, we tried a cheap one that I got on Amazon.
Yep.
Another cheap one that I got on Amazon.
Yep.
We were sent one by a company to test that I might have been in one video. I ended up telling them we don't want to do it because I don't trust the equipment.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just theirs. All the pH meters that we tried had the same downsides, and that was I could take 3 readings of the exact same liquid within a minute of each other and get different results.
Yeah, that shouldn't happen.
Now, sometimes they worked. Sometimes it was very consistent. But then 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 tries that we do it, you'd get this wacky reading. And I'm like, what the? This no.
Yeah.
Sorry, no.
And then there were different ways to calibrate, and some of them were easy, some of them were complicated. And it just seemed unrealistic to have to constantly recalibrate a device when...
Realistically, all you need for pH when you're brewing... Now, there are instances, so don't get me wrong. For our uses, for everything that we've needed, I really just need to know, is it in the right range or out of the range?
Yep.
That's about it. I don't need to know if it's 4.3 versus 4.2 pH.
Nope.
Now, if I was doing more preservation style fermenting, not brewing, fermenting like foods and stuff, that's a whole different thing, because there you need to be a lot more specific, because it could mean, food poisoning versus not food poisoning. With alcohol, the alcohol pretty much takes care of that most of the time. So it's mostly just to find out, is it okay for the yeast to start up? And, well, we thought for a long time that it wasn't that important. Then we started seeing maybe it is. And I think there's a placebo effect sometimes. We started checking pH on everything, and we started adjusting it and this and that. And then we did this one brew that was just basically grape juice.
Yep.
And it was like that's right. It was the fine wine or like the basic wine.
Plain versus polished. They're right up here.
That one. And in the plain, we didn't do anything. Nothing. We took a pH reading, and it was super acidic.
It was way acidic.
Acidic.
I drank some of the leftover grape juice just afterwards before we did anything, just the grape juice from the bottle, and it gave me stomach issues. It was that acidic.
Right. Where on the other one, we adjusted the pH. Well, guess what? They both chewed through all the sugar.
Yeah.
They did not care. So I think the acidity for yeast has been a little overblown. I think the range that yeast like is much, much broader than we thought. So it just makes me go, okay, pH strips. They tell me like within a half of a pH, I'm good.
Yeah.
And we don't even really use them anymore.
The deep dive into pH is another topic, of course.
Didn't we do it already?
But it's just another stressor. So some scenarios, pH isn't going to matter at all. In other scenarios, it may be something that you really need to pay closer attention to. And it all depends on what you're actually brewing.
I would think on a very high gravity must that doesn't have a lot of nutrient, doesn't have a lot going for it, and maybe you're using a really iffy yeast for that particular must, then pH might be a factor to worry about. If you go on the extreme end with the pH there, you might have a problem. But a typical must, I mean, literally, we did grape juice, sugar, and bread yeast, and it chewed through it. It's not like we gave it the best thing ever, and it went right to dry. Just totally through it.
So get the strips and don't worry about the electronic devices.
If you ever need to look at the pH, just take a pH strip and do it. And that way, it's consistent, because that strip is going to give you the same kind of result in an acidic liquid versus every single time. No calibration, no nothing, and they're super cheap. I mean, a couple dollars and you get like 100 uses or something. It's just so much easier. And
that leads us to something that is not cheap at all, and this is Prolevel digital hydrometers and refractometers. Now, we talked about refractometers already, and that was just the basic off-the-shelf brand. We're talking about high-end, intended for professional breweries.
I got to be a little careful here. We were sent a set of digital refractometer and hydrometer from a well-known company that is known for high-end, very good products.
And we were super excited about it. We were
over the moon excited.
Blown away.
you might notice the video is no longer on our channel. We took it down for reasons. Here was the issues that I had with it. We never actually talked about this publicly, but a couple of people have asked, and I thought, I'm not going to mention the names, but I can at least tell you what we thought. These units together were $700, I think, something like that. So they're not cheap. And it was so finicky to use. It had to be just right. You had to calibrate it every time. And if you put in just...
It was like a 3-step calibration process.
Yeah. And if you didn't put in exactly the right amount of liquid to test for this, it didn't work right. If you didn't put this in... And I was getting inconsistent results all over the place. Sometimes it would work fine. Other times it didn't. And I thought, for that kind of money, and now we were given these units.
Yeah.
We actually paid to send them back.
Yep.
Cost us money to send them back because I didn't believe it was something I want to promote to our audience.
Sure. I think...
No, go ahead. What?
With this level of gear, there's probably a learning curve, and I totally understand that. But I messed with it for a few weeks. Our concept and the way we rationaled returning the product and not continuing forth was, if you have to pay a good amount of money for something, it should just be simple. It should just
do
work.
It for you.
It should have pre-troubleshooted itself.
Yeah.
And I know the world doesn't work that way. I'm not that naive, but for our audience and for how we like to brew, it just wasn't a fit.
To put it in perspective, really, really simple. These items, I messed around with them for a couple of weeks, and there was like more prep, more setup. You had to use like all this sanitized, or not sterilized, what is it? Distilled water to clean them out. And like there was a lot more prep and a lot more stuff involved, which I get that with precision comes that. But here's the thing, precision in this hobby isn't. Like it doesn't matter that much to be down to like 1,000th of a point of gravity. That doesn't matter. But the difference is this, here's perspective. If you buy a hydrometer, and you check it in water, and it reads 1.000. Then you put it in another liquid. It's going to give you the reading. And you can trust that reading to be relatively consistent. Even with some temperature change, 5 or 10 degrees doesn't make that much difference. It really doesn't. Maybe a point. And that's still close enough. We're kind of playing horseshoes here. It's just, as long as you're close enough, it's close enough. But this very expensive piece of kit required so much prep and so much extra to make it work. And it was still sort of inconsistent for me. Like I would get readings that made sense. That's the thing. Like say it was supposed to be 1.060. I'd get like 1.074. Then I check it with the hydrometer, it's 1.060. Then I check it again with the other thing and it reads something different. I'm like, that's not the way it should be. And I even talked to them. I had them walk me through a whole bunch of stuff. And I just, in the end, said, nope, this isn't working. I want to send it back. But another thing to put into perspective, a unit that we just got, and I'm going to mention it again, the Tilt, was 1/3 that price, or less than 1/3 that price. I pulled it out of the box, dropped it in water, and it worked.
Yeah.
Boom. No setup, no nothing. The worst thing that I had to do was download a third-party app from my computer that literally took 10 seconds to do.
Yeah.
That's how tech should work. If it's more trouble than that and more money than that, it better do something for you. Like it better, it should make the brew for you or something. I don't know. Just to me, it just seemed like a lot of money for no real payback. There was nothing worth it to me. Now, some people might really love these things, and you probably know which one I'm talking about, but I'm not going to mention it because I'm not going to trash a company. They were actually shocked that we were sending it back. Like the woman that I spoke to was genuinely like, no one's ever done this before.
So I think my personal takeaway from this experience wasn't so much that these products didn't work, is that they didn't work for us.
Right.
When you jump from the homebrew sector into the pro sector,
these weren't pro, they were home pro.
There's some complications that arise that if that's not working with your mindset, your other parts of the puzzle, then it's just going to be really annoying and distracting from the process. And we do this not only to share our experiences with you, but because we actually enjoy the hobby. It's
right.
fun for us. It's a way to be creative and make something new that we can share with our friends and family and with you. Where this product
took away from the process,
was outside of the realm of what we like to do. And so it just got in the way of the process. Yeah.
It was fun for like the first 2 days. And then when we actually used it in videos, I tried to edit it out afterwards, but we actually tried to use it in videos, and it was just so frustrating. It was so much more difficult to just use than a hydrometer.
Right. Like we're kind of
chaotic.
Yeah. And so we just like to grab things and do things and be spontaneous.
But
where this was like the party break, right? It like stopped the process, and we had to focus and be more delicate.
But that's like a real test too. You know, like if we can't do it while we're recording, it's too complicated or too inconsistent or too finicky or whatever you want to say.
Right. And
because that's just, it should just work.
My point was it's a fine product, just not for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to agree with that. I think if I was not a YouTuber, if I didn't record what we were doing and I just did this hobby because I love this hobby and I just want to do it all the time and I wanted toys to play with, I would totally own those things. I'll tell you, I will admit that freely. I would own those things. I might not use them all the time, but I would want them. And when I felt like being all mad scientist-y, I would get them out and I would use them. Does that mean that me, in the situation I'm in now, would want them? No. Because I know if we kept them, they'd sit on a shelf and I'd never touch them.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have the bad idea of we're recommending this, because that was the idea of the video. That's why we returned them. I couldn't in good faith keep them because we weren't going to use them. And I didn't feel right promoting a product that I personally wouldn't use myself.
All right. Speaking of fancy schmancy gadgets on the shelf, this leads us to the alcohol meter and the Vineometer.
These aren't fancy schmancy, but they are things that we got to try because, well, the alcohol meter, people told me that they use it for fermented products and they got great results. And I was like, but it's not meant for that. It can't work. That's not right. But you know what? Let me buy one. So I bought one. It was like $15 or $20, whatever it was. We still have it. And I tested it off camera, and I'm like, it doesn't actually work. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Now, let me just explain. An alcohol meter looks just like a triple scale hydrometer. However, it's graduated to measure spirits, meaning usually things 30% or higher and dry, because it goes by density. So it's using the ethanol's difference in density versus water to measure that. So when you start putting it into things that are below 30% and have sugars and all this kind of stuff, it's so inaccurate. I mean, some of the numbers that I got were just like insane. Something that was like,
oh, this meat is 44% alcohol.
I'm just like, no, no way, no way. And this came about because we had a couple people that were making comments like that they made one guy said he made a 56% mead. And I was like, I don't even proof. You can't even say it. And turns out he was using an alcohol meter to check his alcohol rather than using a hydrometer to check gravities. And when he finally told me the recipe he made, it was something like literally 8 or 9%. But the alcohol meter read 56% for some reason. And all of his stuff was like 40%, 50%. And that just got me like, whoa, okay, let's back up a minute here. Let's do some figuring out. And, you know, I don't like to be the bearer of bad news that way. But here's the thing. If you go into like a local homebrew shop and you say that you made 56% mead and you didn't distill it, they're probably not going to believe anything that you say right after that. So if you want to get good advice, you got to kind of have an idea of what you're talking about. And that's why our channel exists, is to be able to help you to understand things enough to know right from wrong and what works and what doesn't. And to know enough that if you did actually get a reading that said 56% in a mead, you know that can't be right. That's kind of an important thing that we try to teach.
Yeah. A lot of the specialized items that we've talked about already, except for the pH meter, basically all fall under the caveat of, or the category of using a hydrometer.
Yeah,
and
they really are.
That's why we're constantly pushing a triple scale hydrometer, because it's going to give you all that information plus more, where you won't need the extra gadgets.
Now, if you're into distilling, which we're not, we don't do it, I don't know much about it, an alcohol meter might be a good thing to have. And they're super cheap like a hydrometer. But the next one is the Vineometer. I have mixed feelings on the Vineometer. It's a little teeny tiny thing. It actually looks like if you took a dropper and you took the bulb off of it, it kind of looks like that. It has little graduations on it. This is the problem that I have with it. It's so small that there's almost no precision to it. Now, the times that I tried it, if you do it exactly right, you can be within 2 or 3% of an approximation for alcohol level. That's close enough to be useful, but if you took a beginning reading and an ending reading, you got it anyway. And I do believe that Sweet Things will throw that one off too. But it was so small and so like you're squinting to see it, and like you almost want to take a picture with your phone and enlarge it so you can really see. And even then, it was like the graduations were something like 5%, 8%, 12%, 16%, like, and they're an eighth of an inch apart, and you're supposed to figure out a percent or two in between those. Now I did have a cheap one, I'll admit that it was a cheap Vineometer, but they're just not that accurate. So to me, it just. I mean, do I regret spending the $8 for it? Yeah, because it's just sitting in a tub somewhere and we don't ever use it again. But is it a big deal? No, in that case, you might find a use for it at some point. I don't know. But that's probably like the only one that even almost kind of, sort of, possibly, maybe makes sense. How's that?
All right.
Did I get enough possibles in there? It's a definite possible maybe.
All right, the next item on our list is actually an outlier because we're going backwards on you guys. Instead of opting for the lesser expensive item, we are strongly suggesting you save your pennies for something significantly more expensive.
Pennies. It's more than pennies.
Yeah.
And that is the hand bottle capper. You know, the old butterfly style?
Or even worse, the hammer one.
Oh, geez, don't do that. I have flung bottles across the room with a hand capper. It's not good. I don't trust them. I think it's a bad idea.
I'm pretty sure I've pinched my finger
in
one.
We've both done it. Got blood blisters, all sorts of things from them. They're a little dangerous. I mean, they work.
They're awkward. They're clumsy.
Yeah, it can be done. Like I used to have to put it between my legs and hold it like with my thighs, and it was like a thigh master kind of deal. And then you use that, and it worked, but it was not a comfortable experience, and it was still like scary. Yeah. It was just dangerous.
Yeah. You don't want to clamp like that down there.
Yeah, and they're like $20 or something like that. Whereas like the stand capper that we got from North Mountain Supply, and I know I'm not really pushing any product in this one in particular, but this one is the one that we have and we love it.
Oh my gosh.
It's just awesome.
When they sent it to us, we were both like, really? I mean, come on. What are you going to do? And then we
started bottle capping everything after that.
Like the heavens opened up and angels started singing. There was trumpets and butterflies and rainbows. I don't know.
And
it was just crazy.
We don't even bolt it to a table yet, but we will. Oh, by the way, today is the first day recording a video in our new studio.
That's right.
And those of you who've watched the show for a while are probably going, that's the new studio?
We warned you.
Looks just like the old one. That's the idea. We wanted it to look just like the old one. But we have our old
table back, so we're not creaking and...
Yeah, see, I can go like this, and the table doesn't move. Although this is a podcast, so if you're listening, you probably didn't see anything. I just tried to move the table.
It's the simple things in life, ladies and gentlemen.
But yeah, the hand capper, no good. The stand capper that we have, I want to say it's like $100 or $120.
Yeah.
So it's an investment, but it's also made of like heavy duty steel.
Yeah.
If you break this thing,
it's Italian construction.
I'm going to say contact North Mountain Supply. They'll probably do something for you. I don't know, because I don't think you could break it. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but call them if you ever break one.
I think it would be a serious feat.
You probably have to call your homeowner's insurance before you break that thing. Like I could see it going through a floor, a wall. It's a weapon. Are you kidding me?
We're not encouraging you to weaponize your brewing material.
No, but in a pinch, But yeah, the stand capper, so great. Stand corker would be in the same thing.
Yep.
Because those butterfly corkers, they suck too. We didn't put that on here.
We didn't. The
butterfly, the hand corker, they suck too.
Because we haven't shown the glory that is.
I haven't used one in a long time, and that's why I don't do corks anymore. Because that's the only kind of corker that I had. So I stopped using corks as a result.
We love the stand bottle capper so much that we've actually changed our preference from swing top beer bottles to the crown cap beer bottles.
I'm actually thinking about switching to crown caps for everything.
Yeah,
I like the concept.
It is lovely.
Part of the reason why we never did bottle caps was I always wanted to have renewable, reusable, and non-wasteful things. Bottle caps, you have to throw them away. Granted, they're very inexpensive. I know. I am a frugal cheap bastard. Sorry, but I am.
And he married one too.
Yeah. So we don't like to waste anything. So when we were doing, when we switched from corks to swing tops, the swing tops were working great. But I think over time, they don't hold carbonation as well. And I think that's some of the issues that we've run into.
Yeah.
The bottle caps, oh my God.
They're fantastic.
They just work. It just works awesome. And in most cases, before you get an exploding bottle, like we had one issue where I let it over carbonate, and it was supposed to be a sweet and carbonated brew. I let it over carbonate more than I wanted to, and it blew off 2 bottle caps during the pasteurization process out of like 10 bottles. But that was the only problem. No bottles exploded, nothing, but 2 caps did blow off.
Yep.
I literally just put, I had a wok lid that was like aluminum.
Yeah.
I put that over the top of the pasteurizing vessels, and it caught them. So they didn't do any damage. They left a mark in the lid though.
Yeah.
So, that's the kind of power they have. But the point was that bottle caps, they work really, really well, but you want the right kind of capper.
Yep.
Same with corks. Get the stand corker. It just works so much better.
Yeah. And I think that comes into play with most gear is that if you're going to invest in something,
Right.
For us, if it makes your life easier and more enjoyable, then okay,
Yep.
and invest in that gear. But if it's finicky and gets in the way of the process, then maybe not.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where we're going with this.
If it adds to your process and makes you enjoy the hobby more, then it belongs in your stable. If it's a problem, it sits there on the shelf collecting dust and you never use it because it's a pain in the ass, then you shouldn't have it. And that's kind of where this list comes from.
Yeah.
We do still have one category of items.
Yeah, it's not a
on the
specific
list.
item, but we learned about it from a specific item.
Yep. Go ahead, you can do it.
And this is any gear that you can't sanitize with your preferred sanitization solution. Ours is Star San, so it is an acid-based sanitizer. Granted, it's diluted based on the manufacturer's recommendations, but
Very
it's
diluted.
still acid-based. So some plastics are not friendly with that.
Right.
And if you can't sanitize your equipment, you got some problems.
Now, a word about sanitizing versus cleaning, okay? There are cleaners out there that can be used with these things. Like, I'll just say it. It wasn't, I'm not going to say the brand name, but there was a specific fermenter that we bought that the spigot could not withstand Star San. So we ended up not keeping it. I contacted the company and everything and talked to them directly, explained the situation, told them we're YouTubers and, we don't want to promote the wrong idea. And they said outright, nope, you cannot use Star San with this. It will degrade and it will leak. I was like, okay, well, that's a deal breaker for me. They were promoting the idea of using a cleaner rather than Star San. Now, I know, in all truthfulness, using a cleaner versus a true sanitizer, you are 99.9999999% likely to not have problems. Okay, I know this. A lot of people out there are using like OxyClean, and there's a couple others that they use, One Step, and all these kind of things. Those are cleaner. Now, One Step might be a sanitizer. Don't take me wrong. There are a lot of other things out there that are not true sanitizers, but they're really good cleaners, and that's probably going to work just fine. For us personally, we wanted to stick with Star San because we trust it and we know it, and we've been using it for years. And as a learning channel, I don't want to promote the idea of sanitizing not using a sanitizer.
Right. We have a larger responsibility to you, our audience, to make sure
To speak the truth.
that we are promoting best practices based on our personal experiences.
Yeah.
And as Brian said, this is probably fine just to use the cleaner. You probably won't have problems, but because there is that margin of error that we weren't comfortable with, we decided not to go with that.
Right. That was a few years ago, too.
Yep.
Today, I might give it a try, but I'd have to put the caveat in every video that this doesn't go in turbos. This gets cleaned separately.
Yeah.
And I don't know. To me, it turns into that's an extra step in the process that we just don't want to have to deal with. So we're much less likely to use that product. And honestly, we don't need it anyway. We've found some really cool fermenters recently
We
that
have.
I'm very, very, very pleased with. 1.5 gallon glass fermenters. They come with airlocks and a little silicone pop lid.
It's the little things again that make us happy.
Yeah, and they're not even expensive.
No.
You should link those on this video because now I talked about them.
Yeah, I'll have to link quite a few things. Speaking of links, normally, if I can, I link all related videos, regardless of what channel they are on, and all the products, and if it's a recipe, the ingredients and volumes in each description of all of our videos. Also, you can search any of our channels by simply going to the channel page and typing in the information you're looking for. And if we have it, it'll come up for you.
Actually, an easier way to search for our videos, just do this. I don't search on our channel page anymore. I just go to YouTube.
City Steading,
I type in the topic I'm looking for, City Steading, and you will find it.
Yep.
That's the advantage to having, I don't know, what do we have, 800 plus videos now, something like that.
Yeah.
And between 3 channels across, 4 channels technically,
Yeah.
we have a lot of videos out there.
Yep.
So you can search for City Steading and they all come up, and they're, the fermentation stuff comes up. Even if you search for fermentation, it actually does come up. But City Steading works for that too. Yep. Same thing for the tasting room. You can do City Steading tasting room or just tasting room. But that's
there is a channel
easiest.
called the Tasting Room. So
yeah, but we're starting to come up for that too.
Yeah, but City Steading, I think, is mostly just us.
Yeah.
As always, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, particularly of what you'd like us to talk next on the podcast, let us know in the comments below.
As always, guys, thank you so much for listening and have a great day.
Bye-bye.